Hey,
Happy to have you here. And then in the middle, we got Senor Jefe. Jeff, how are you?
Good. Great to be here.
And then once again, we got the governor joining us. John, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to a very special episode this evening.
Yes, we're very, very excited about that. And just before we introduce our very special guests, first couple announcements. We sold out for Bunty Eve in London the night before celebration last night. There are no tickets available right now. So sorry if you missed out, but we're very excited about London. It's going to be a great time. Celebration is always awesome. And thank you to everybody who bought a ticket from us. Dave, anything quickly on the VCN? Because I know we have a lot to get to, and we're all very, very excited about this.
VCN coming up is Look Out Monday. We got 2 shows coming at you on Monday. We will have the return of Celebrating Autographs at, I believe, 6 Eastern time. And then at 9, as usual, we'll have Rebels Revisited. A live and in-person episode of the Unifying Force will be coming at you on Sunday. And that's the highlights of what we do.
Brilliant. But without further ado, Mr. Notman, introduce our guest.
Yes, thanks, Spencer. So tonight we are watching Chapter 13, The Jedi, Season 2. I couldn't be more excited about this extra special guest. I've met him in person. He is the nicest, sweetest guy. So lovely to talk to, and he's just generous with his time. So you can see from the caption, we're being joined by Brendan Wayne. But before we say hi to Brendan, I just want to give you a little bit of backstory to Brendan. Brendan's career, he has appeared in shows and TV series and films. For example, Fast and the Furious. If you didn't know, he was in the Fast and the Furious, Cowboys and Aliens, Sons of Anarchy, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And more importantly, he played Din Djarin in Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. I want to introduce you to the one and only Brendan Wayne. How are you doing, Brendan?
I'm honored to be on here. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to invite me and making sure I get to watch my stupid self walk around on TV.
Well, we're very honored to have you with us tonight, and thank you so much. And I want to give a quick shout out to our dear family member, Tika the Jawa Leilani, for help push a little bit of the envelope right there to help us get this together. But we all love Leilani. I know you love Leilani.
Leilani's been there. She was there from day one with me. I love Leilani. If you see us on the Jawa trawler, Rick Famuyiwa's episode, and we're going to go get the egg, and they shrunk the Jawa trawler so that I was even more uncomfortable. And we kept having them like just poke me and touch me, and like it was hilarious because he's like, none of that's even going to make the scene, but I just really enjoyed punishing you.
Brilliant. So if anybody has questions for Brendan tonight, Dave, how should people ask them?
So if anybody has questions, you can go ahead and either live on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/the virtual Cantina network. You can just comment right in there. I'm monitoring that over there on that screen, or comment as always right here in the Facebook's stream. And it may take a few minutes. I may, hold your question a little bit till a natural point, but I will try and get to all the questions.
So before we watch, make sure that you have D+ all queued up with Chapter 13. We're going to start a few minutes late because I know we have a lot of questions we want to do before the show, but very, very excited about this episode. But first, we'll start with a couple of questions that we ask everybody when we first start. When you were hired for Season 1, did you know that you were in a Star Wars?
All right. How it began was, hey, Brendan, we need you to go over. There's an untitled project, and we can't tell you anything about it. My agent's telling me this, and they just want you to try on this, costume. And I'm like, what? No. They're like, you should probably do it. And I was like, am I getting paid to do it? And they're like, yeah. I go, okay, fine. I'll go try a costume on for somebody. Sounds terrible, but okay. And little did I know, I walk into Legacy, and the first thing I see is, Terminator. And I'm literally like, oh. And then I look over, and there's Avatar, and I'm like, what is going on in this place? I'm not wearing a costume, but this is pretty cool. 100% in my head was like, I'm not putting on a mask. There's no chance. So then sign in, whatever. I go into the room, and they have this, I don't know, creature case or whatever they carry their stuff in. And it's legacy. You know, these are the best in the business. Anything that you've loved, that you've seen, Stranger Things, Gizmo, like anything, they've done it. So I'm literally like in this little dressing room going, all right, what are we doing? They pop it open and I would go, oh my God, it's Boba Fett. This is the greatest thing ever. And I kid you not, like they were like, no, it's not. I'm like, no, dude, I signed the NDA. It's all good. I mean, I've been in the business my whole life, bro. Relax. Nope. It's not Boba Fett. I'm like, okay. Like literally texting people going, hey, dude, I'm trying on Boba Fett's outfit. Because I haven't seen the helmet yet. I'm just seeing the colors of the suit. And I'm like, this is like, I text my brother. I have 5 brothers. One brother who was 3 years older than me, who grew up playing this. And I was always Boba Fett because he was older. So he took whoever he wanted. And I'm the small brother. So, you know, I was like, yeah, don't hit me. Cool. So I was always Boba Fett and it was cool. And then, so I'm like, I'm Boba Fett. I'm like singing it in my head. Very like, oh, machismo. I'm literally like, Boba Fett, Boba Fett. And so sure enough, I put this thing on and their faces are like, I'm like, what? And they're like, so the guy they hired originally was 6'5". I was like, wait, what do you mean guy they hired originally? They're like, yeah, well, like 6 months ago, it was all locked out. And then whatever. And I find out it's Rich Citron who plays Batman. He's caught anytime you see him in the outfit, that's who was the Mando, but he's 6'5". But he is in such great shape that my little frame, we just needed to do some, you know, alterations to the length. So I fit in this thing and we had like, you know, then they pull out the helmet. And I'm like, that's different. I'm like, do you get an upgrade? They're like, it's not Boba Fett. I'm like, I dropped the helmet on and it fits, I guess, which was a big deal. At the time, I had no idea how they made these things. So I was shocked. So we go on and it works. And they're like, okay. And they take me kind of like a blue screen and this guy starts taking pictures and he starts telling me to kind of move around or whatever. And he's like, dude, you're it. And then all of a sudden they all start talking amongst each other like I'm not there. And they're like, dude, this is the Mandalorian. I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, nothing.
Not Boba Fett.
What? And they're like, no, it's fine. You're fine. Whatever. So sure enough, I'm leaving 3 days later, 4 days. No. It was 6 days and my kid's going to BU. And it's my oldest daughter and nothing would have kept me from taking her to school. So they call me and they say, hey, we need to have you do a screen test next week. It's an untitled Star Wars thing. My agent's like, dude, it's Jon Favreau. Blah, blah, blah. He's so excited. And I go, nope. And what? I go, no, I'm not going. They're like, no. I'm like, no, I'm good. They're like, no, you have. I'm like, I know. I'm taking my kid to college. Happens once. That's it. They need me. They should have called me earlier. And he's like, dude, you're a bartender. You literally can't even call yourself an actor right now. You're a bartender. I'm like, yeah, guess I'll still be a bartender when I get back. And he's like, so you're going to make me call him? I'm like, yeah. It's not even a question. Yes. So he calls him, says it. Now my wife's looking at me like, you know, you could have phoned back. I'm like, no, I'm not missing 1 minute of this. They call back, they come back, they reschedule. My wife's pretty phenomenal actor. So the casting director knew her and asked her to come be my reader. So not only did they change the date and want to give me that opportunity, it was they brought in somebody I was real comfortable with. She had worked with John on Jungle Book. And so I go there and he tells me a couple things. They give me some notes. Hey, look, we want you to look at, Yul Brenner and Schwarzenegger. So I did.
Mhm.
And I'm normally you walk into, or well, not you. Some people are really comfortable. I'm usually like, fuck, come on, man. I got to get SAG insurance. Let's go. And I'm desperate. But I walked into this one and I don't know what, it was just, I understood it. I understood it was a Western. I understood. I hadn't seen a script, mind you, but I knew I was coming in and I was going to come in with a 6-gun and my boots and everybody kissed my ass. And I walked in and they brought this gun. Yes. And they bring this gun to me. And first thing I look at, they're like, this is pretty awesome, huh? I go, no, it's too long. I'm like,
Rifle.
never. I'm never doing this in any other audition. There's just something about John makes you feel comfortable. And I wasn't mean or anything. Like, it was just, no, it's too long. I can't run with that. And if you want me to flip it over my back, I needed to have a strap. And so Legacy made this thing. So it's a magnet so I can flip it over. Yeah.
There you go.
So I can pull it over my back. And we just talked and we talked. I said, no, you got to drop the holster. I can't have it high up here on my hip. I need it to be where my hand lays. I have longer arms. So it's going to be, if you look at good guys who really know how to draw, they have it where their hand is. So all they have to do is wipe their hand up and pull it out. And, it was just things that I feel like everybody who had this experience growing up, which was, playing the cowboy, would have felt comfortable having this conversation as long as you didn't put them on a pedestal. John and Dave and Kathleen, everybody there. And I didn't. I'm like, dude, I used to sit on, Uncle Ronnie's lap, and then somebody told me those jelly beans you were eating, it was Ronald Reagan. So you're gonna have to do a lot to make me go, oh, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Right now, Mikel Arteta might make me do that. Anyways, we'll move on. So I go and I'm walking, and John's like, "You're really doing your grandfather's walk a little too hard." I'm like, first of all, no. And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "I'm not. Nothing's on purpose. You guys gave me a size 12. I'm a size 10." And he was like, "You've been for an hour. You've been doing this thing, and you're walking with bigger shoes." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna complain, bro. Let's go. Let's do this. We're trying to make something. We're a team." And he's gonna be like, "I haven't even hired you. Shut up." Like, I'm like, "No, I'm good. This is good. We need to tie down on the leg so I can pull my gun." And then he's like, "You might have a knife." I'm like, "It goes in the boot." And he's like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, okay. And then that was it, man. I left that. I did not know if I got it or not. I knew that I felt good about what I did in the room. Well, actually, it was in the warehouse, and John's like, "We're going to have these 20-foot LED screens surrounding you, and it's going to be unreal. It's this thing called the volume." I'm like, "Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about. I can barely use my fucking phone. Sorry, we're in another. You and I are in two different places." And so from that point on, man, I took my kid to school, cried like a baby when I was leaving, and got home. I know I got the news there, and it was cool because my kid had gotten a scholarship, thankfully, to BU, but I was like, "I don't know how I'm going to pay your monthly." And we got the call, and I was like, "I got the job." And at that point, we didn't know anything. It was like, you're on a daily contract. You'll get the minimum, and we'll see how you work out.
Wow.
And then I met Lateef, and we were like, "Hey, let's do something with this. Let's really do something with this."
Okay.
And so he and I, because I love to box, and he's ridiculous. I mean, you met him. He's ridiculous. And so we just did it, and it was really fun.
Awesome.
So
before we get to the next
Brandon,
question-
Leilani is in the chat, and she's saying hello and lots
Hi,
of
Leilani.
great things
Yes.
about you.
How was my queen?
Mhm.
So
she
the other
thinks you
question,
are her Mando.
yes, you're Hermando. And the
I
other
know what
question
that
we always
means.
ask is obviously at the season one, what was your impression when you first saw the child?
So I saw the child well before, like, it was on set and ready, set ready. I saw it when it was just the eyes without the skin on it.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, not attractive, really creepy actually. So then when I get to see it later, and it's got this, it's funny when it's off, it's not like that movie Heart back in the 70s with the puppet, but there is a certain level of like, you're so creepy
Mhm.
when it's not. Now, mind you, he's amazing. I'm not Jason Sudeikis. I never beat him.
Good to hear.
But there was a little, I don't know, it was a little creepy. And then they put the skin on it and then they lit it up. And these guys, again, legacy, once they start moving that thing,
Yeah.
I have somebody to act with. Like, I know it's weird because it does not talk, but I am literally able, and they're throwing what they think their expressions are, and John's bringing them up and bringing them down. Like, he's directing like he would an actor. Hey, look, that's kind of a little more stage appropriate. So it's this kind of big thing. Let's bring him down and understand that the camera's got this photo. And you watch these guys, they're magicians. Trevor, Con, Jason, Mike, I got to scream out to all of them because they're amazing. John, who's retired now, but they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. Dawn and Tam from there, like there's 6 of them, and John, and they're with me every day, dressing me every day, making sure my cape is where it should be, and making sure the pauldrons are high and have the right silhouette. And then it's Rio Hackford. God bless him. I hope he rests in power. He was one of the kindest, most wonderful man. And he was playing IG-11. So he's in this big gray suit, walking around with this, the top of IG-11, what you see on set with me. And we're walking down after we battle everybody. And we come in and opens this thing. And this kid's sitting in that thing. And I have 3 daughters. And so to have that kind of moment, and then if you're have any emotion in you as an actor, it's so nice to have this moment. And then you have this kid who sells it. Like, he's so good. And man, it was pretty cool. Now, did I know that he was going to be, honestly, because I'm so in the moment kind of guy, probably because I'm so ADHD that it's, I'm lucky I'm not chewing paint right now. Like he's this guy's like, it's just so cool. Did I know he was going to be, it was really should be called The Kid and the Guy Who Holds Him? That probably would have been a better title. But no, I had no idea. I know John did. Man, that dude sees the future.
But as a Star Wars fan, seeing like a baby Yoda, you must have been like, oh my God.
Oh yeah. And it's funny because initially I called him Baby Yoda, but at a certain point he became the kid to me. And he'll always, I know he's Grogu, and I guess probably like the parent I am, when he's being bad, I'll go with Grogu, but he's the kid to me. Hey kid, come on over here. Let's go, kid. And it's really cool. Like, I had the best time. And it does matter like who's running them, because like if we're joking around, and the kid reacts to me with their personalities. So there is something to it. Yeah, there's a big thing to it. And the component, I pray they don't change that. I know that, on shows, everybody, especially when they're successful, everybody wants to, you continue to grow. And
2 cents.
Yeah, you just hope that they continue to, I don't know, stay with the guys who brought them there. Stay with the horse that got you there.
Barry, when we had him on last week, was very complimentary about you and Lateef, that you two, when the other person is in the suit, is you're giving like each other notes on like what that they're going to do to kind of keep that continuum and make it just right and make Den who he is.
Yeah, I mean, I think John and Dave really facilitate that because they want a through line with the character. And John, they'll call me and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. What does it look like? What is it, why, what's the mood to it? And I'll be on another set of the same thing, not the same scene though. And I'll be like, hey, he's doing cockpit work. What did you decide the buttons were to start, the Razor Crest? And that was something that, I literally have video of it on my phone of me trying to figure it out, me watching it, what is going to be the best if it's coming over here, just how I work. Like I get in the space and I see what's comfortable, what feels right. My dad was a pilot. He was a Navy pilot. So I used to spend time in planes with him and talk to him about, hey, what does this do? What does that do? And understanding all those things, it mattered to me that it had a function and how it went. And, even when I got to the N1, those things, the details matter to me. I was trained in theater. And so for me, you have to, when you do a play, you can have moments of deviation, but there's a general thing you have to follow. And when you do film, you really have to follow it because they're trying to capture this same movement. So those details matter to me. The fact that I was able to create the character mattered to me, and wanting to make sure that it stays true to that is really important. And so I guess you could be a diva about it. I guess you could be a dick about it. And that wasn't the way I was raised. And my grandfather wasn't that way. So if somebody that iconic isn't that way, I don't think somebody who still bartended during the first two seasons of The Mandalorian on the weekends should pull that card out on anybody.
Well, so here's a little bit of a question about that. You mentioned it, and several people have asked in the chat, and we have it on our list. So how much of the cowboy swagger that you bring to The Mandalorian, how much of that Wayne walk, how much of that is practiced? How much of that is hereditary?
None of it's practiced. I spent a lifetime getting away from it. Never walking in a room that way, never trying to do anything that would seem like look, I'm riding his coattails. I'm okay with it. I love my grandfather's. Come talk to me. You have a problem, because I'll tell you right now, there's more good done than bad. So I'm not afraid of that. I just know that people, they get real sensitive about that kind of stuff. And I'm an actor and I want to be creative. So I do try to stay away from it. But when John says, slow down, hold your body a little more still, you look like a bobblehead, you got to do it. And then when that happens, that's when my grandfather comes out. The advice he gave Ron Howard was, listen, kid, talk low, talk slow, and don't hesitate. So that's the kind of approach he physically had. And John Ford, was, hey, look, it's better if you stand in a room than if you tell everybody you're standing in the room. And when I was young, my mom told me that, and I didn't get it. But if you watch, my grandfather can walk into a scene, stand in a doorway, and yeah, he's 6'5", he's big, but it's not just that. I know big guys who don't have any presence about him, and he does. And part of that is having great directors like John, like Rick Famuyiwa, like Deb Chow, like Dave Filoni. They understand that an image, because we're watching moving pictures, sometimes are better than words. And that's why I love Din, because, to me, I identify as Mando, and I look at Pedro as Din, because the Mando is his helmet's on. It's that Mando is the Mandalorian. The Mandalorian wears his helmet, and that's part of his creed. And
Well, I mean, that right there that you're talking about sounds like what I'm assuming you did in one of the opening shots of episode 1 when you walk through the circular door. the poster shot, you stood there, and
it was that's yeah.
you were Brendan and John Wayne.
Yeah, and it's just the way my hips work. It literally is like it's hereditary because we both, even though he's 6'5", 250, and I'm 6 foot 175, we both have what they call is tight hips. I don't know like how else to explain it. My 23-year-old daughter has the same thing. And if she walks slow, she walks just like me. She's 5'3". Like it's not a put on it. My mom, who was 6 foot, walked the same way. It just is. Like people always talk about, oh, your grandfather really perfected that walk, and all they did was slow him down. That's all it is. They slowed him down because the camera doesn't like fast movements. So like when you punch, you can't do that because you lose it. So you have to punch, and it has to be this big, kind of thing. Wow. So it's fun. Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question before we start off the episode. Though I'm loving this masterclass as it is.
Very cool.
All right. Well, I'm gonna ask Lila's question. Lila made it a point, like early in the day, to get us a question for you. So when you are practicing or when you're acting in a scene, have you ever purposely or unpurposely just, done the pew pew, or is that just like going in your head?
No, what's really funny is it's in my head always. And when we started, I was shooting and doing that, and I had to be corrected that in Star Wars we don't have recoil. Like there isn't that recoil, as I'm used to, shooting like that, or like I've played a bunch of FBI guys. You do the area so you can go right into it. And so like John was like, nope, we're going Western, one hand, and it's that smooth bang bang. And then if you watch your grandfather in most of his movies, he's not doing this. It's more like, just bang 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 bang. And then he's like, Clint barely ever does that. So I was like, okay, whatever you need. But yeah, in my head, 1,000,000%. And I have a beanie from our sound. They always had great stuff, and it says pew pew on it. It's got one of our guns, my gun, on it. It's great.
That's great.
So the follow-up to that was, were there any directors who direct you in saying, any particular director that's like, okay, and then you come up here and it's the pew or the
every single director. I mean, we're like, I don't know that there was one. I'm trying to think. Is there anybody who was secretly not a Star Wars guy? No. I mean, everybody, like you think by now we might have some that were just not Star Wars people, like, but still love whatever, the mythology, whatever. But nope, not one. Every one of them was like, yeah, no, I love it. And so they're like, pew, pew. It's hilarious.
That's great. So why don't we get started with the episode? So what we're going to do, Brendan, is we're going to do a 10-second countdown before the episode. Ooh, what is that?
It's long. Oh, it looks like a dart.
Oh, he's got the spear.
Oh, it's the spear.
Oh, it's the Beskar spear.
Got to hold it in front
which
of you.
I received in this episode.
There we go.
Ooh, very nice. Actually, you put
this thing.
Oh, nice.
The best is it can travel with me. And it is, it weighs exactly as much as the one I had to carry, which was problematic too, by the way. That was really funny. And let's see,
there we go.
Wow.
It's a 3-piecer. It is the best workmanship I've ever seen, honestly, hands down.
Well, nice. Get to see how you acquire that in this evening's episode.
Yes. So we're going to watch, we'll do the 10-second countdown before we hit play. If everybody's playing at home, we're going to watch the recap. So we're going to start from the Disney Splash.
Yes.
So very, very excited about this episode. So Jeff, do you want to do the countdown?
I did it last time.
Do you want to turn off?
It's John's turn.
Okay, John, do you want to
Is it hard to count?
Yeah, it's hard to count.
Take the turns.
I understand. Trust me. I identify with that.
You have to count backwards. That's the problem.
Do I have to take my shoes off?
Well, maybe.
Okay, so we're going to start from the Disney splash, and we'll begin in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and play.
So, especially with a recap from the last episode, we're very, we found out with Bo-Katan that, they had to go find Ahsoka Tano, and, the general fandom went absolutely bananas over that. They were getting a live action Ahsoka. It's just absolutely incredible. And I'm so happy that we're watching this episode. And for a little story of everybody at home, as we're watching the recap right now, when I was talking to Brendan about coming on here and he mentioned this episode, all I can think about was the scene with Michael Biehn. So I can't wait till we get to that and have all the conversations about
Spoiler
that.
alert.
It's just such a spoiler alert.
That's usually Jeff's job.
No, but it's just
Oh,
so
man.
awesome.
Oh wait, I'm gonna turn down the volume here, over here.
Yes. Well, I don't hear it, but better safe than sorry.
Yeah, this is all the recap in here. Here it is, exactly what they're saying. It's like, oh, you got to go find Ahsoka Tano.
Yep.
All right, there we go.
Time to fly away.
So, as one of the people who was working with Katie Sackhoff as soon as she came on as live action Bo-Katan, how excited was she from translating the animation to a live action character?
First of all, she's one of like the most professional people, like in the sense that she doesn't mess around. Like, it was important to her, and she wanted to fulfill what she believed was the most important characteristics. So that was cool, and to see that it mattered so much to her was really cool. I just, I don't even understand like the level that she was at. She was ready to go. She understood it in such a really cool way.
One of the things I love about this episode, especially in the beginning in this
There we
whole
go.
area, is very much an homage to George and his love of Kurosawa.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, seeing the white sabers come out of nowhere, that's just like, damn.
Well, and just this very sparse, foggy forest. Also
I will say this: it's not just George, but Dave loves a Kurosawa. He loves the samurai just in general, like his knowledge, understanding. So when you watch most of what he's going to do and what he's done,
I have a question to you, Brendan. So had you before this season, had you met Diana? I mean, you have something in common, right? You have a famous grandfather. She has a famous godfather. So did you know Diana before this?
I knew of her. I did not know her. But one of the most impressive people I met, very genuine. In this business, you get a lot of people who tell you a lot of things, and 1% of them are true, about themselves. But then you meet somebody like Diana. I mean, actually, on this, I've been very fortunate, and so, yeah, unreal. Like, she's stunning, beautiful, powerful, strong, like all those things you want in a human being, and she fulfills it, and just kind and really approachable,
and can kick your ass.
Oh, I mean, like, I don't even fuck around. I was like, nope. I'm good.
I think that's been
fuck
a
around
really
and find
common
out didn't
thread
happen.
about the women on this show in general.
Yeah.
I
pretty
was
much.
lucky enough to meet Diana and her husband Ron back in
yeah.
I think it was August 2021,
There's your
and
speaker.
they were lovely people. But you're right, she kicked my ass, and I'm 6
It's
foot
really
2.
funny. So I know she's, probably good or whatever, but then you see her move, and it's beyond like, oh, hey, that's impressive. It's like,
Mhm.
oh my God, your next level master. It was great. It was really cool.
So this is the first time we're seeing a live action Ahsoka. What was the the feeling on set, knowing that this was such a an iconic in the last 10 years animation character finally coming to life?
Well, first of all, I don't like to give Filoni any I don't like to pump his ego up. So I refuse to acknowledge that this is really cool, right? So he's like, no, this is gonna be great. You have no idea. I'm like, nah, it's whatever.
We'll see.
It's cartoon. And he hates it when I call it cartoons. I'm like, it was a cartoon, dude. Come on, let's go. This is real stuff here. And I mean, he gives it back to me. Trust me. Fine. We're friends.
So
But-
we have the host of our Rebel show in the chat here. Were you a fan of, had you watched Clone Wars and Rebels before this and really appreciated
No.
the Ahsoka?
Not one episode. And then my agent had watched all of them. And not because I was in this or anything. He was like, you got to watch them. They are phenomenal. And I was like, come on. And I do want you to censor this out. But then I watched them and they were great. And it kept alive the canon that I had grown up with and the mythological stories that I studied with, from Joseph Campbell. And so it was great. But no, I won't give him any credit.
You're like, this is his baby appearing in live action for the first time.
I mean, that was a big deal for him.
Okay, I could.
Huge. Like, he's like, I like, you could tell he was nervous about it. And I hadn't seen him nervous. But yeah,
Right.
that was
Those
big.
Probably a lot
Did you
riding on.
Did you nickname the Razor Crest the Dad Wagon?
it.
I actually called it the soccer wagon. 100%. Somebody on set called it the daddy wagon. And I was like, there's something wrong about the way you say that. So no, we're not doing that. No.
Uh-huh. Oh,
But I loved, and now I really appreciate the Razor Crest. Now that I have the N1.
now that it's gone. Yeah, when you upgrade or change cars and you're like, man, I wish I had my old car still.
Yeah,
Too bad
I
it
mean-
got blown up.
The funniest thing about with the fandom was that at the time in season 2, they did that big HasLab $500 Razor Crest, and then they canceled. They stopped it the week before you blew it to hell, and it was
Yes.
like
Funded, didn't it?
a million
Whatever.
Star Wars fans are crying right now because they just spent $500.
But the value went up.
Yeah.
So, Jeff,
I
you
was-
wanna
I
ask
remember
your
him doing
question
it.
from the-
You're saying?
Go ahead.
No, I
Jeff.
just remember him blowing it up with Robert and him having that moment where I'm searching in the ashes and I pull up the knob and we're the knob.
Yeah, the knob and the spear are the only things left.
Mhm. It's pretty
What
funny.
was that, Dave?
I said, Jeff, do you want to ask your question from the that you had
I
mentioned?
can't remember it.
Okay,
Oh,
well, I'll ask it for you.
Yeah,
then.
you have it in front of you.
So, Jeff, earlier today, and he's forgotten it. Is like he needs to know how often you and the other
Oh, yeah,
casting
that's right.
members would exchange greetings by speaking to each other and going, "This is the way," or "I have."
How
spoken."
often did you hear that on or off set with other casting crew?
All day.
Just nonstop. That's what
So
I
the
think.
grips we'd be like, hey, we're gonna do overtime. We're gonna go beyond 12. This is the way. It was almost like you were in church and it was like, amen. Amen.
Right. Amazing.
Oh, yeah. All right, where are you guys? I want to make sure I'm somewhere in the same range.
So we're
I'm
at,
I'm about 9-10.
You've just
You're looking up at the
A little
the
after
wall.
9. Yep.
talked to my.
You and Bean.
Oh, yeah.
So is
Yeah,
this
and
the
Bryce is asking in the chat what was it like just facing off against Michael Bean?
Okay, so he's pretty awesome. Like, not pretty awesome. He's awesome. And
Oh,
he's pretty intense. But just really good guy. And he played me. He literally was playing possum on me for a while. And, it was a dream of mine because I got Johnny Ringo. I mean, I literally had Buck Taylor, who played Creek Johnson in Tombstone, is also an artist. He's unreal. And I got it somewhere in this office. But he's got one that says, it's in the eyes. Look in the eyes. And it's Johnny Ringo and his blue eyes and this really cool thing. And there he is. And so I walked him in my room like, dude, he goes, yeah, Buck. I was like, yeah. And so having the opportunity to see if I could be his Daisy was pretty awesome.
Cool.
So right behind me is a battery pack right behind that cape right there. And it's got like 6 of those like drill batteries with servos. And I have Grogu all now, mind you, I literally off a deathbed walking around with this thing on my back. But I'm like, let's just zip tie it onto my belt and let's go. Because we wanted to use the really functional kid. And yeah, so right now it's like literally running power lines onto my back.
Have you been to Galaxy's Edge since they introduced your persona here?
No, but I must get a video a week. And
oh yeah, I'm sure.
Somebody's like, "Hey, that's not you." I'm gonna get clearly. It's not me.
I was just
Like,
curious
oh,
because this scene very much reminds me of that with that whole pouch on his hip and
Oh yeah,
technically a puppet there, but they have a pretty good version for the part as far as I've seen. I haven't seen him in person though.
These little I call them crucifixes that these people were on. They were awesome, and they were really there. That's not CGI. That's practical. There's CGI stuff they added with the lights or whatever, certain lighting. And then walking in through those doors, through that town, and then stepping into this area, actually was there, and it was unbelievable. Now, some of this is shot in the volume, but so it has that really deep, beautiful background. But those water, and that walkway, it was all there. It was so cool.
That's amazing.
And her presence, the malevolence bubbling beneath her. Oh, she's so great. She's so good.
And your spear again.
So what was your thoughts when you first walked into the volume and you saw what they were able to do with that?
I was stoked once I saw it because I realized I had been on Jungle Book while I visited the set on Jungle Book.
Right.
And that kid who had no one to work with, it was all, like no animals there. It was all imagination. He had blue tarps, maybe some trees, and then my wife was working with him to give him something to work with. And so, then I think of that, and that was pretty recent. And then I think of my Uncle Patrick in 1972, when he did, there's a spear, when he did Sinbad, and they had a guy running around with a stick and a tennis ball. And I literally sent him a video and he cursed me. It was hilarious because it allowed me, what it does? It allows you to stay present in the moment. You don't have to really put on a lot. You get to interact with the environment as you would as we do constantly, right? Daily. So it allows you to be moment to moment and more present.
Lila's
so
asking, does the spear have a name?
Bastard, because it was so long it would catch inside my boot once we got it on me, and it would do it to Latif too. And he had to do like super crazy fight scene with Moff, and he had that on his back. And it must have caught his boot and
stumbling over it over and over again.
We were
this was cool. This little moment right here, and you walk out, and I'm not kidding. Like that was and that was, there was no volume when we're looking out right there. That was actually just smoked and some other whatever CGIs they were doing, but it really was this kind of desolate black wood, like it had been burnt. Oh, it was so cool.
So we asked the same question to Barry Lowen last week, Brendan. So kind of briefly describe, every scene looks seamless to me, but it must be physically difficult, especially returning from, an injury or hospital or whatever to get back
Oh
into
God, yeah.
play. But tell us some of the difficulties that you experienced personally with wearing the costume.
My difficulties more often than not happen before we actually started shooting. So I had bought a Boba Fett helmet. My wife bought it because she's smart and I'm not. But I have my motorcycle, like dirt bike gear. And so I put that on to kind of feel like I was wearing the armor. And then I put the helmet on and I would go shoot in this. I would go boxing in it just to get a feel for how I could figure out how to get my visual, because the biggest issue is the T. So I have a slow eye, so I use it to my advantage. I'm able to crisscross and I can look down and still see, and my brain's learned to function. So I'm able to have this ability. So seeing your path is a big deal. So what I would do is, again, I never walked onto a set that I didn't understand what was there. So like this one, specifically this one, there's trees that are low, trees that are just right here. So like if you're in a visor, you don't see it. So you have to make sure that before you ever do this, you're doing, yes, you're making sure that you know where you're going. Because if you don't, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. God, I just love Rosario. Oh, yeah, that's problematic. And then, we find out how do you land in the suit without breaking it? Those kind of things. And I can tell you right now, I never broke a helmet. Lateef, of course, did. Moff Gideon broke Giancarlo broke one of my helmets because he went 110% and cracked me in the face and snapped it in half.
Oh,
so I had to take a break and walk off set. So I didn't have anybody.
Vader move pulled on you.
100%. It was hilarious.
Actually, in the gallery, when they in the behind the scenes show, they talked about how crazy Giancarlo was going against Lateef. It was pretty crazy, nuts.
Yeah, Lateef will tell you it's pretty funny. Like he's like, yeah, he was going, and he had forgot to tell me because they wanted to bring me in for this because they knew it wasn't fighting, and so they want to make sure that I'd go in and I would act the scene out. And then Peyton was like, just, do the fight sequence. And I was like, fine, I can do fights. I've been doing them. Everyone thinks you're John Wayne's grandson, so you do your own stunts. I'm like, he didn't. But so I'm in there and Lateef goes, I hear it starting. And Lateef goes, hearing him tell it's best. He goes, I'm sitting there and all of a sudden, man, I hear him going and I go, oh, I forgot to tell Brendan he goes 100. And I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like, what dang! And he hit me in the helmet and it cracked. I'd done flips in this thing. I had never broken a helmet. I was livid. I was like, I'm out. I walked off. I walked right by it. I've never walked off a set in my life. Lateef's like, I'm so sorry, bro. I should have told you. I was like, what the? It was hilarious.
So did you do any wire work? And more importantly, I have to ask you a showbiz question. Did you on this season, did you ever have a gooch?
Did I have a what?
A gooch.
Oh, dude.
Oh shit. So I didn't know what that meant. And that's my nickname. And I had no idea that the gooch is really not something you want to be nicknamed. On Cowboys and Aliens, I did a gooch off a horse. And it was because I didn't want to do a simple pull where they just pulled me off the horse like the aliens got me because everyone else had done it. I was like, that's stupid. Let's do something. And I think this is why John thought, oh, he's a stuntman.
Mm.
It's because what actor is going to be like, yeah, let's do something that might paralyze me. I was like, nah, let's do it. Tommy Harper, the stunt coordinator, is like, all right, we can do it. A couple of guys who were like, yeah, the riggers, the guys who do the pull, they were like, hey, my grandfather did the stagecoach with your grandfather. This would be great. And so they're like, yeah, he can do the gooch. So they take my stirrups away on my horse, and then they're like, hey, now ride the horse. I'm like, no, I need stirrups. I need to put my heels down. And they're like, nope, just squeeze it. You're going to kind of be, English. And I was like, I'm not English. They're like, you're an idiot. So they wrap this thing, they put this thing on my back, and it's 70 feet in the air. And I got to run a line with it because I'm, it's like about a football field long. Harrison Ford's on this side of me. I think the kid, Noah Ringer, was on the other side. And it's just me, I got to ride. And then when they say go, they've wrapped this thing underneath me and going in front of me. And it pulls me, and I do a double backflip 70 feet in the air off a horse. No CGI on it. Like, I'm just flying. I've never, honestly, I've never done any stunt on a horse. I'm comfortable. I can throw a rope. We're okay. Man, live, it was amazing. I was fired up. Everyone was like, that was that was one of the most amazing stunts I've seen. And I was like, really? I guess it's better to be ignorant than good because I'm ignorant.
Made you good.
Yeah, I did the gooch. What was the first part of that question? It was about something.
Did you do any wire work in this or either of these?
I did, but not much. And the reason is they didn't want to, when you do wire work, they have these things called pick lines where you get attached. And my suit, they didn't want to put holes in. They wanted to make sure that I stayed the hero and all that stuff. So I didn't really, I didn't do a lot of wire work. I did it more in season 2, I guess. But in the Mudhorn fight, anything that is flying back, that's Latif. But I did a front flip in the one with Toro and Fennec, over the sand dune because she shoots me. That was me, those kind of things. But generally the wire work's Latif because he's unreal at it. So why not let the pro do it?
So you just mentioned Fennec and having worked on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right there. You basically were working with the Cavalry. What's it like to work with Ming-Na Wen?
She's unreal. She is a tenacious, loving, amazing, just giving. As an actor, somebody who's she never has to prove it. And so it's really nice to be around her. You just get to work. And it's kind of like being with Carl when you get with people who are just comfortable and confident and they know what they do and they do it incredibly well. That's what it's like working with Ming. And she's funny. She's so funny. I love her. I'll always have a crush on her. She'll always be she's Ming. She's unreal.
So
I also meant to tell you that Mary Carr says hello.
Mary! I love Mary. Oh,
I saw
my
the video.
kids love Mary.
I saw the video from New York Comic Con. She's posted about you and Latif surprising her. So
Yes, we were so stoked. I love Mary, and I owe her a dinner, and I'm saying it out loud, so everyone's gonna hold me to it.
okay, I'll send her the video.
So Spencer mentioned Ming-Na. So here's this question. She is one of the people who has completed the Disney trifecta, if you will. Looking at your IMDb, you're 2/3 of the way there. I mean, you are in Star Wars. You've been in Marvel. So if you had your choice, what other Disney franchise, either animated or live action, would you want to be in to complete the trifecta?
That's a damn good question, huh?
We try to come up with something.
He's got the 6 degrees of separation with his wife being on Jungle Book.
That's true. Very close.
You could be the new Jack Sparrow.
1
Pirates
degree.
of the Caribbean.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we have a pirate lover in our midst. So
I mean, my Uncle Patrick was Sinbad, so maybe I
Nice.
could.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Maybe they'll saddle up and we'll do a Western series. That would be nice.
That would. I would pay money to watch that.
Can do a revival of the Apple Dumpling Gang.
Yes, let's go.
Date myself a little bit. And
Me too. I got it. I understood it too. That's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
Well,
you alluded to it. Here's another question from here. You're of that kind of similar age to the rest of us, so I'm assuming, from things you've already said, you were a Star Wars child.
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean,
tell us some of your early childhood Star Wars memories. Like what movie do you remember seeing first in the theaters, or what was special for you, or anything?
A New Hope. I remember going to GCC theaters over in Van Nuys Boulevard. It's actually Sherman Oaks, but it's now a Best Buy. I remember my mom locking us in. It was me, my brother Dave, my brother Pete, and my brother Chris. And there weren't a ton of people in there, but it was pretty full. Back when you had to buy your tickets when you were going to see your movie, you didn't have a seat beforehand. It was different time. And so watching that, and Harrison, he was a cowboy, and a cowboy like my grandfather was. He wasn't my grandfather, although people kind of might think, oh, he's a white hat cowboy. He wasn't. He was usually a ornery son of a bitch who did something right at the right time because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But it was like Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. He was a mean dude, but he didn't want the credit. Yeah. And he wanted, I mean, the Shootist might be the greatest performance on film that he's ever had. Between that, Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, those two are top searchers, because he played somebody who was so much older than him. The big ones. But yeah.
My absolute favorite John Wayne film is The Quiet Man, that I understand I think your mother worked on as well.
Sure. My mom was in the Alamo. I mean, she was in a lot of them, but they all went out there, stayed at the Ashford Castle, and the whole crew stayed there. And they had like a shared bathroom at the end of the hallway kind of thing. But my grandfather was like, you kids, you either get up at 5 and shower, or you wait till everybody goes to work and shower. You do not mess it with the crew. The crew's doing the work, whatever. But yeah, she's in there. And if you watch it, the lady leans out of the wagon, and she's on the buckboard with my Uncle Patrick. And she says, would you like a lovely switch to beat the lady with? And he's dragging Maureen O'Hara across the moors. So good. Doesn't really age well, but it was great.
I will watch that any day and twice on Sunday. It's just amazing.
It's so, and he and Maureen O'Hara were a pair that, I don't know, it was hard to rival that one. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, and not given as much credit. I mean, that's Bogey and Bacall, if anything, it ever was. It's yes.
You watch Big Jake. I mean, you watch them; they're so
Clinton.
Good together. Yeah. Oh, yes. So good.
Did you get to watch Rosario rehearse this particular scene? Where she's I don't know if you're on the same point as I am on, where she's basically on the ramparts, carving people up.
Oh yeah, was unbelievable. Caitlin Duchelle and Lauren Kim, like watching them prep this, and Rosario's need. I have the same need, and I see it in a lot of actors, especially in this. They need to understand the physicality of their characters, and doing this is really important. Because it informs what we do, how we do it, how I pull that gun and finish matters, and how she moved, it informed her character. Her fluidity informs her emotionality, her connection to everybody. And it was It was amazing. I went and watched her train for the series Ahsoka, and that she is a one bad ass woman, like just unreal.
I heard one of the actors from The Lord of the Rings, I met them a little while ago, said that Ian McKellen would always show up at rehearsals to watch and learn, even at his age and experience, physicality, emotion, everything. So that's huge kudos to you.
Well, I think I just see, like, with the people I enjoy watching the most, they're informed from the toe to the head kind of thing. And it's, even if you're a weak character, there's a physicality that informs that. And you watch Johnny Ringo here, later on, he chooses not to stand up and fight, but to cowardly fight, and he pays the price. And that's for me, I never like to square up in a fight, and so I brought that with Mando. That's a big deal for me. I never like to be square if I think there's a threat. And Diana does it naturally too. When you watch, she's, it's not just, oh, I'm trying to, get my best side or whatever. It's understanding that angles matter. And if you watch, we try, like the good ones, like there's always an angle, and it's really cool.
We worked with a number of incredible directors in season 1 and 2, and also in Fett. Just name me a few of them. Can you give us some of your favorite, what they bring to it, or what you love about them?
Bryce, I first of all, I love her honesty. Like, she doesn't placate you. She's there every step of the way with you. She's pumping you up. She's pulling you along if you need to be pulled. She understands it viscerally, and I admire her tremendously for her ethic, and her ideals and her storytelling above all else. There's Rick, who, usually you go to director and you're like, hey, I'm thinking this and that, and then he'll just be like, all right, let's see it. It's really cool. And then somehow he polishes the turd that I put out there, and he makes it look great. And you're like, damn, how'd you pull that off? I mean, I say this all the time. That scene where I'm about to get crushed by the butthorn, and I'm sitting there, and I got to pull the knife out, and I pull that knife out, and I do one of these, and I go, this is so stupid and cliche, blah blah blah. Who am I, mind you? But anyways, Rick looks at me and goes, just wait, you'll see. It's literally going to be your knight in shining armor moment. I'm like, no. And he was so right. I was so wrong. Like, it was unreal. He's so good. And he dunked on me when we were kids. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Rick and I grew up playing basketball against each other.
Nice.
We
Well,
figured it out. And then I was like, yes. And then Peyton Reed was great. He's hilarious. Taika is, I described it recently on an Instagram post. It's literally like he's there, things are going, and it's almost like he's so mellow or whatever that you're like, oh, it's kind of not there. And then all of a sudden, it's like right before lightning hits, you get that thunder. You see him grumble, like he starts to, and then this brilliance comes out, and it's like, oh, let's do this. And you're like, wow, where did that come from? Mind you, he's sitting there. He's brought a couch. He's got a lava lamp next to him. He's in a robe. So
Oh, wow.
the approachability and the comfort level is there. And he's funny. He's just really funny. But he's also obviously really creative and talented that way. So that was cool. Like being around him, you can't help but learn. I didn't get to, I mean, John's always around. I didn't really get to do a lot with John because I was in the hospital. So that episode was, less me. But I love John's approach. But for me, because Filoni and I are there's the fun rivalry we have. Not everybody can be a third string hockey goalie like Dave. Some of us like to be first string at what we do. Dave's good at third string. So, but I mean, I just love the guy so much. So to get to perform for him and he's at the beginning, he's like, look, I'm just stepping into this live action. And so, I'm looking at him going, I'm just stepping into being a lead, of a show that eventually is going to launch the streaming network for the major production company studio. I'm good about not thinking about that kind of forest. I tend to look at the trees because it keeps you humble and it keeps you low. So I never worried about any of that. That was way above my pay grade. But I try to do the best I can I do the best I can the whole day I'm there. And coming in, it's like I tell my players, preparation makes the game easy. So if I'm prepared walking in, the game's easy. So yeah, Dave, I love that. I mean, some of the guys from season 3, they didn't announce anyone, right? Like,
No,
Rick.
they had that trailer from Celebration, and then they released the trailer, a couple months later, and that's it. So, like, for example, when I saw Emily at a con a month ago, I was like, here's my, I have each season as its own poster. I was like, here's my season 3. She's like, well, how do you even know I'm in season 3? I'm like, Emily, come on. Like, we saw the trailer.
You were on
so
stage at
nice. I was
Celebration.
gonna bait him and tell him we knew everything, that he could just go ahead and mention
Hey,
anything.
well, I'm not that guy.
I
We're
just
also
tell
live
you.
right now. So
Yeah, I just tell you. I mean, I'll tell you this. They were tremendously impressive. I loved working with Rodriguez too. Like he just, I almost forget that he was directing me because he's just so kind. Like we talked about family all day. He taught me how to play guitar. He taught me how to be disciplined and to stay playing guitar. Yeah, this is great.
Well, this is where
Sounds like
everybody
you.
freaks out. It's like, what? Grand Admiral Thrawn? You're gonna?
yeah, so that's actually the question I wanted to ask. So you were talking about earlier about busting Dave's balls about Ahsoka. How was he about announcing Thrawn? Which is, since the 90s, a lot of us who are not animation, who are book nerds, were like, oh my God, Thrawn's live action. Like, how's Dave about that?
Super secret. Like it's so funny because that was when, like he would, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Like he's hardcore. And then he'd show a moment of like pride. Like Dave feels compelled to honor those who it matters to. And he wants to make sure it's within the vision that he sees. And it's so important to him. So how is he? He's like a kid, honestly, when he gets, honestly, it's like me getting this job. Like I went from dreaming, when I was a kid playing, Star Wars, all the power went out in my, I lived in Encino. And when I was a kid, Encino was nothing. Like my sisters rode horses to high school. Like it wasn't whatever it is now. Like it's fancy or whatever. Like it was Chinatown. It was, like if you watch the movie Chinatown, you look down, it's orange groves and avocado trees. That's what it was. And so the power, it got knocked out and it was out for a week. We had no power. So mind you, TV turned off at like 10 o'clock. So it wasn't like today where everyone's like this. so we just played, my cousin was up for the week and we played Star Wars all day, every single day. That was it. So yeah, I don't know that. And so to be able to go and then walk on a set and do that, the first set I went on was outside and we were walking down and we were going to get in the fight at the Dicto camp. And IG comes strolling down with me and I'm out loud saying, I'm in my dream. Like I'm walking on a life-size set and I'm going to go shoot things off walls and they're going to fall down. It's not going to be my imagination. And so for Dave, it's like, I created this thing and it's like weird science in some ways. It's alive, there it is, and then in other ways, I guess it's like, the bride of, what is it? Oh my God. Frankenstein with Gene Wilder. What is it called?
Young Frankenstein.
Young
Young Frankenstein. Thank you. Yes. In other ways, that's probably what I am to Dave. He's like, you are Abby Normal.
You're his Broderick.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Brandon. We've talked about a lot of the cast members that you've worked with, and particularly the directors as well. Changing gears a little bit, tell us what it was like to work with Tamura on Book of Boba Fett, and more importantly, what did you think of his hacker at Celebration? Because we were all there watching it.
Yeah, so was I. I was like, oh, he'd done it on set when we were up in the only location I've done at that point was on Boba Fett. We went out there and he did it right there. And I was like, I'm with Rodriguez. I've been watching, I'm watching Spy Kids with my kid, and that was like, and then Tim is just so calm and cool. So you can talk to him about anything. And then he and I found out that we both have a love for, boxing, like love boxing. And so whenever there was a fight, we would talk about, hey, who's, are you watching? What do you want? Who's, and, we love the way like, Lomachenko moves. And then we would talk about how we could incorporate that kind of stuff within our characters. I always have a heavy bag in my room. And so Tim would, come over and hit the bag. He's incredibly physical. He's an absolute stud. So yeah, I mean, I take Tim for granted in a lot of ways, but he's a big stud, and I love that guy.
That was a great episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Your squaring off against Michael Biehn was incredible.
Oh, that gives me goosebumps even thinking about it. That was when I went, okay, he didn't die, and now you just got to kill Johnny Ringo in Star Wars. Like, okay.
I love how they did the artistry at the end during the credits.
Yeah, I love that they captured my physical way I held my body in some of these pictures. I'm like, oh, I look stupid. And everyone's like, no, dude, that's so iconic. I'm like, no.
Yes.
That hurt.
That's what makes this the space western, is the exact kind of thing, the gunslinging and the posture and that walk. I really look at Mando as a come and get me, that what's that popular saying now, fuck around and find out. Yeah, that kind of describes Mando. I don't really want to sit and talk to you. No, a lot of it though is you're talking about Tombstone, is he really is Wyatt Earp or Doc Holliday. It's just like
100%
Huckleberry.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and that's always going through me. That idea, Kurt Russell, and the idea of tell him I'm coming and tell him hell's coming with me. Mm-hmm. That like when we that's something that fires me up. And it's really, really cool. Yeah.
I want to give some mad props, especially during the Mandalorian panel at Anaheim this past year. How you and Lateef were basically you were there, and it was just like an incredible moment. How did that feel for you to be like on that panel with everybody talking about?
And Grogu.
Because
Again, that son of a bitch steals the scene.
He
going
pretty
back
much did.
going back to Spencer's question, because Carl described it. He said, "What is this, like a playoff game or something?"
Yes.
The whole place was going nuts. What was it like
He-
to sit there for your first time in Celebration?
Otherworldly, honestly. I through no work of my own, I've been in some really incredible places because of who my grandfather is. I was in Congress when Maureen O'Hara spoke to them and said, "You need to mint a coin, and it needs to say simply John Wayne, American," and they did. So I've been in some like heady places. I've met Pope John Paul II. Like really crazy things. And my mom used to talk about this with my grandfather, which was the fans were the things that fed him, and not egotistically, but in the sense that when you meet fans like your son, there's a level of reverence to the story. And me, as a classically, trained theater actor, to me, the story is everything. If it's well written, then I, as an actor, should be able to do my job. So when you walk out and you get to look out and see the people who gave you a job. Now, John and Dave, they hired me, but the reason why I still work, the reason why Mando's relevant isn't because of me. It's because of everybody on my set. It's because of, the writers. But really, none of them have a job without you. And so to have that moment, of course, I want the credit for what I've done and all those things, and that's cool, blah, blah, blah. But to be able to walk around and see, like walking in, I was with my wife, I wear a helmet. People don't know who I am. They know who Pedro is. If it'd been Pedro, they'd been like, oh, but they don't know me. And so I see a Mando and I go, "Hey, that's a good looking suit, man." And they're like, "Oh, thanks, man. Oh, do you want to take a picture with me?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "No, dude, I got so many pictures in that costume." And they're like, "Oh," and then I'll hand them, like usually I have like a challenge coin or something on me, and I'll be like, "Yeah, there you go." And then they kind of do this face, and my kids will be walking up and they'll hear the rest of what goes on after I walk away. Because someone will be like, "Wait, what?" I go, "Hey, hey, thanks for taking the time. I'm Brendan Wayne. See you later." I just go, because that's, to me, unreal. Like I remember the guys at Legacy saying, "You're going to be the hottest costume next Halloween." I was like, but they were right. Like seeing that, and then seeing the fact that it could be a girl or boy in that costume, I didn't think it was going to affect me. I didn't think anything of it. But when I have fans who write to me and I write back to them, and literally write, not email. Like I make a point that especially if they wrote to me, to write back to them. And it's funny, I always keep letters around me. And there it is, it's like, oh, okay. So I just write them back. And my grandfather used to do the same thing. And without y'all, I don't have a job that I love. And so walking out on that stage, being able to see everybody was epic. I also got to do a big sword thing right in front of Disneyland in between the two parks. Saber, not sword, sorry. Lightsaber.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. And then people started to talk and they were like, "Dude, that was Mando." And watching that and watching that, it matters. There's some boys on the Grant High School soccer team, the footy team as I call it, who just figured it out. And we have a tournament right now, and they were in the game after the one I was coaching, and a couple of boys came up to me all shy, and I was like, what's up, boys? And they're like, hey, are you really the Mandalorian? I was like, yeah. They're like, can I have a picture with you? I'm like, yeah, dude, come on. Of course. Like, dude, it is my honor. You know what I mean? There's like, it just, that meant the world to me, that the reaction when we came out, you know, like that meant the world to me, because it shows that, you know, us getting some recognition was cool to everybody there. And that was really cool to know somebody's pulling for you.
Well, there are people who recognize you and know, and it means the world to us. Is our friend Skip and I were walking the floor at Celebration, and you and Lateef just come by just randomly walking down, and like, okay, 6 foot dude in a cowboy hat, we know who that is. We got it. Okay. and Skip was kind of sheepishly asking one of the guys with you about getting a photo, and you see that, and you just kind of like pull him in and drag Lateef into it and make that huge deal of it. That's the kind of thing that we love about you in Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I know that, you know, like if I'm not at a convention, I got yelled at by the convention people in New York, because I know it's a business, I know the whole deal, whatever, but there's also just a certain level of, you know, I don't know, like, yeah, I get it, I got to find the balance or whatever, but you know, to me, I'm just as honored or excited to meet you as you are to meet me, because I love to hear what mattered to you. Like, oh, I love this episode. Did you do this part? Oh, okay, yeah. How can you tell if it's you or Lateef? You know, like I can. I'll tell you right now, it's not even close. And if I told you, you would know 100% when it was me, and you'd be like, oh.
With that in mind, and being a child of the 70s and 80s and being a Star Wars fan, dude, you have your own fucking action figure. How does that feel?
Yeah.
Dude, it's nuts. I have them. Oh, I guess they're over on that shelf. Dude, I have them. I cannot tell you. Oh, wait, what am I saying? I don't know if you can you see in there?
No, we can't see.
No, it's blocked out.
It's literally, I have the sideshow.
No, that's not even. This is not even as good as that.
It's unreal.
Here's the Black Series.
Yeah,
you and the kid.
that's literally what I have. And they did one of my grandfather. Funny enough, the sideshow.
Nice.
I saw you put that on Instagram. I think that is your figure next to his figure.
Yeah, it was. I was like, there's moments where I just go, okay, well, I've done something. You know, generally speaking, my kids keep me pretty grounded, and you know, I'm coaching the local high school, and these girls, you know, some of these girls haven't even been able to play on a team because either they couldn't afford it or dad doesn't think girls should play sports or whatever it is. So it's easy for me not to get big headed, kind of thing, you know? So I don't know. Yeah. It's really cool. Like, you have your own action figure, and then I balance it out really quickly because I have to go outside and it's raining and I have 3 dogs and I have to pick up dog shit because I don't have somebody, you know, like nobody else is going to do it. None of the dogs were mine, mind you. They're all my kids.
Yeah.
So,
and one of the questions from the chat is, how do your girls respond to Coach Dad? Do they even listen?
It's now I've recruited their oldest sister, who's 23 and who, you know, graduated from BU, phenomenal soccer player. And so I let her talk to them because they literally look at me like, actually my youngest, I it's hard for me to talk to her because takes everything so like, "Ugh, I'm not
Mhm.
doing," and she's phenomenal. She's got a chance to do something in her life with this game. But she's got a drive to be great, and at the same time does not believe she's good. So I have to be real careful with her. Now with my team, they make fun of me. My high school team that I coach, they flat out make fun. They're like, "You are a walking inspirational message," because I'm constantly talking to them, because to me, there's no greater thing in the world than sport to prepare you for, like, obviously in education. Let me rephrase that. There's two things: your education and sport. And no, I don't mean anything by this. I just meant two things.
I
That's
get
it.
I know what it means.
I know.
John's taking offense right now.
But and so I'm constantly
by-
like, look, you don't come here with a plan. You don't come to practice with a plan, you fail. They're like, what do you mean? You're like, I go, you come here and you go, coach has got it all. Except for if you don't come here to improve, what are you doing? And I just used the English cycling team. They had decided they were going to get 1% better every day. And the girls looked at me like, so? I'm like, yeah. And do you know what they eventually did? And then we showed them all this stuff. And they were like, oh my God. I'm like, 1%. They came with a plan. I was going to be better on the pedal. I was going to be better on my aerodynamics, whatever it was. And so, yeah, I look at Mando that way. How can I make him better every year? How do I make whatever it is that they're asking of me? How do I make it better? Because if I'm watching it, and I do watch the show as a fan, I don't want to see comfort, like that somebody's, mailing it in. I've seen it on shows. I've worked on shows that the regulars or the leads are just, they're just twats. I'm very happy to say that I will never do that.
Well, I think that's an absolutely fantastic place for us to end tonight. So, Brendan, thank you so much. I hope you had as much fun as we had on this side.
I did. I had a great time. I didn't realize how cool it was going to be talking and watching this, because usually I kick my kids out of the office and I watch it alone and just judge certain things. Because in Mando, it's about his stillness to an action, and so I want to see if it translates for me. So it was really cool. But if you guys,
love to have you back again whenever you're
let's
available.
do it. Let's do it for season 3 when they're live.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely talk to you about that
Definitely.
offline tonight. That was one of my questions. But before we close out, John, did you want to say anything?
No, just a wonderful episode. Great experience to share it with you, Brendan. Fantastic to see you again. I met you in Anaheim. Like I said, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And thanks for spending some time with us.
It's my honor. I mean it.
Jeff.
Thank you for being here. Like John said, it was great listening to your story. You are a walking inspiration or inspirational, whatever they called you.
Yes.
But
Live,
it's
laugh,
great hearing
love.
you, and having had to go through whatever issues you were having prior to getting back in the suit, and then just giving it everything was amazing to hear about.
It was cool. I will say this about that, just so you know, as much as like it could be turned into, oh, woe is me. Honestly, Mando reminded me that I was alive, and it was a time when I needed to be reminded. So it saved me,
Good motivator.
not vice versa. Yeah, and it was. So I don't want to, and don't shed a tear. I lost some intestine. I was very septic for a while. I was flatlined twice, but I'm still here, and I'm still here with my kids. So there's nothing to woe is me about. And when I was done, I got to go play Mando. So there you go.
So before I pass it over to Dave, I want to kind of make him blush for a minute. So last week we were in the show with Barry when you and I were texting, and in the middle of it, Dave's on our live feed like we are right now, and I screen capped part of our conversation, and his response was, Holy motherfucking shit. So, Dave, do you want to say anything?
I mean, just what an absolute privilege it's been. I'm a huge fan of yours. I've only met you like in passing briefly. I was a huge fan of your grandfather and really appreciate and have appreciated tonight you saying, you know, what things of him that you're trying to carry forward and also doing for yourself. I'm a father of daughters and I coached my daughter in boys lacrosse.
Oh
And
yeah.
absolutely. And so I appreciate the
Was
thing.
she a long stick?
She's a goalie.
Oh God.
Yes. My daughter
There's an-
is
Oh.
the one of two girls on the team, the only girl goalie, and she doesn't
Oh, I want to
listen
meet
Coach
her.
Dad or anything. But you are
Yeah,
a
no,
smart
I mean-
man. I had to recruit a kid that I coached to be a goalie to coach her because she won't listen
Yes. Yes.
to me.
Oh, it's so hilarious.
So
Oh,
yeah,
God,
it's
that's
been an
so
absolute privilege tonight. Thank you.
Hey, I'll tell you, anybody who's in LA, come look up usually on my Instagram, I think I post the girls' schedule. You want to come meet and hang out and talk? I'll tell you secrets there. I'll tell you right now, 100%. I'll be at the school tomorrow at 1:30. I'll be
Yeah,
there on
work.
Saturday. We have two games, 9 and 1:30.
When are
So
you
I'm just
showing up
telling
in your
you.
gear? I did read about that.
Hey, I'm waiting for an adjustment on one piece, and I'm gonna start coaching. I think the 9th. I think that's Monday. We play NoHo at NoHo, and then the next one is a home game, and so I'm going full Mando
Yeah.
Oh man,
at the home game.
full frontal man.
As long as it's all in there, it's like it's the opposite of a full Monty.
Awesome. With that in mind,
Brendan, before we wrap up, I've got a quick favor to ask you. My
Yeah.
daughter's friend is in the UK. She loves watching the show, but it's 2:30 in the morning. Could you say hi to Eleni from me?
Elaney,
Yes.
hey, Elaney, I want to say hi to you. I want to say thank you for watching Mando, and most importantly, this is the way.
I think we're going to end on that. So, good night, everybody.
That's it. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.